JinPingMei Original Version Chapter 95. Diana steals jade and gets married. Wu Dian is heartbroken and humiliated. It is said that Sun Zui worked as a prostitute in Sajiatian. But Wu Yunyang said that since her eldest sister died and she filed a complaint against Chen Jingji, the rest of the family, Lei Zhao, also died, and his wife, Yi Zhangqing, also got married with a small iron rod. Lai Xing'er guarded the door, embroidered spring in the room, became a disciple with Mrs. Wang, and became a monk. Since his wife Wixu died, Lai Xing'er has never had a wife. Nanny Ryer would lead brother Xiao to play and eat in his room. Lai Xing'er drank wine and drank milk again. The two men went back and forth, and then they got scratched. And it didn't last just one day. But when you come to the front, you blush when you go to the back. Yunyang found out what happened and scolded her. The family scandal should not be made public, so I gave him a set of clothes and for hairpins, and on a good day, I married Lake Singer and became a wife. During the day, he went to the stove to see his brother, supporting him from behind, and at night, he went to sleep in his room in front. One day, August 15th, is Yu Niang's birthday. Wu Dajin, or Jinxi, and 3 girls came to celebrate Yunyang's birthday and had wine in the back room. In the evening, they all listened to the announcement in the wing where Meng Yulu lived. At the second watch, the Mid-Autumn Festival children would watch tea on the stove behind and let the moon girl call, but she wouldn't respond. Yunyang walked to the upper room in person and saw Diana pressing Xiao Yu on the kang, doing a good job. Seeing Yunyang push open the door and come in, she panicked and hesitated. Yunyang didn't say a word. She only said, "Smelly meat, why don't you go back to watch the tea?" "What are you doing here?" the little jade said. "I asked Zhongqiwer to have tea on the stove." He shook his head and went back. Diane then walked out of the yamen and came forward. 2 days later, the eldest concubine, the second concubine, and the 3 female monks all went home. This month, Yunyang vacated Lake Sing's room and moved in with Diane. But he taught Lake Singer to move into Lei Zhao's house and guard the door. He made 2 beds for Diane, a new suit of clothes, a new hat and made a pair of new boots and socks. He also made a bun for Xiao Yu, and gave him some gold and silver items. Jewelry, for gold-headed silver hairpins, pendant rings, etc., 2 sets of silk clothes, suitable for Danner to become my wife on a certain day. During the day, he came in and agreed in the room, but at night when he was approaching the gate, he went out to rest with Diane. "This girl has picked out all the good stuff. Why don't she take it out and eat it with Diane?" When the moon girl sees this, she just pushes her away but doesn't see her. As the saying goes, a doting person does not understand, but a greedy person is insatiable. But Ping'er saw that Yunyang had paired Xiao Yu with Diane, and she was dressed better than others. He is 2 years older than Dan. He is 22 years old this year, so he is not married to him. One day at a fake pawn shop, I saw Mr. Fu pawning a gold-plated hook for 30 taels of silver. The family only used the money for a month, and came to redeem it after adding interest. Mr. Fu and Diane found it and put it in the big cupboard of the shop. Unexpectedly, Ping Anner became interested in wealth, so he stole the box and went to Wu Changjio's house in Nanwazi. There were 2 private houses, one named Su Cunner and the other named Banner. They rested there for 2 days. Night, Wang Ba saw that he was making a lot of money, frowning on his golden head and face, and holding out his silver string to buy wine and buy things. Reporting to Tufan, he intercepted him in the house, slapped his ears twice, and took him away. It was also a coincidence that Wu Dian was newly promoted to patrol officer. He was riding a horse with a pair of boards on his head. He was coming from the street. When he saw it, he asked, "Who is he tied to?" Tufan knelt down and said, "That's it." In this way, he was kidnapped and kept in a prostitute, and the gold and silver were used for money if he was suspicious. He took it. Wu Dian said, "Bring him to me for interrogation." He took it to the patrol hall. Wu Dian sat down, with bows and soaps ranged on both sides. Tufan led Ping'er to the route and recognized Wu Dian as his clerk. "I'll let him go once we've decided," he said. "The younger one is Ping'er of Ximen King's family." Wu Dian said, "You since he is a member of his family, "What are you doing with this gold thing in this house?" Ping'an said, "My aunt borrowed it from my relatives to make me dare to go. I came late and the city gate was closed, so I threw myself in. I wanted to stay in Fangzi for one night, but unexpectedly the locals took it away." Wu Dian scolded, "You slave, you are talking nonsense. Your family has so much wealth. How can I teach you, a slave, to take your wealth and stay at your wife's house for a rest? It must be, you stole it. Tell me as soon as possible so that I won't be punished," Ping'an said. "I borrowed my face from my relatives, and my aunt asked me to get it. I don't dare to lie." Wu Dian was furious and cursed. "This slave, how can you recognize a real thief without beating him?" He ordered the people around him, "Take a stick with me and catch this slave," as he put on the stick. The slave boy screamed like a killing pig, shouting, "I won't catch the younger one. Wait for the younger one. Just tell the truth." Wu Dian said, "Just tell the truth, and I won't pinch you." Ping'an said, "The person who pawned the fake pawn shop that the thief robbed has a gold head and face, and a handle of gold-plated silver." Wu Dian asked, "Why did you steal it?" Ping'an said, "The younger one is 22 years old this year. The aunt promised to take a wife for the younger one, but not for the younger one. The servant Daener, who was the servant at home, is only 20 years old, but he has taken over the house. The girl here matched him and settled the relationship. The young one was not angry because of this, so he stole out of the fake pawn shop and left." Wu Dian said, "It must be that this young boy Daener had an affair with the Wu family, so he married the girl to him first. Just tell the truth. It's none of your business, and I will spare you." Ping'an said, "Little one, I don't know." Wu Dian said, "You're not telling the truth. Come with me." He put on the handcuffs on the left and right. And Ping'an panicked and said, "I don't want to hold the little one. I'll wait until the little one tells me." Wu Dian said, "But here you go again. You just said it. It's none of your business." He put the hammer down. Na Ping'an said, "My aunt was commissioned to have an affair with Daener. I wanted the little jade girl first. When my aunt saw it, she was speechless. Instead, she gave him a lot of clothes and jewelry to match him when they married." This is what Wu Dian said. The official Dian came up, copied his spoken words, took his confession, and detained Ping'an in the patrol department. Waiting for the cards to be drawn, Wu Dian and Xiao Yu were brought to interrogate the matter. That day, it was said that the master was missing from the cabinet of the pawn shop, which frightened Mr. Fu. When I asked Dan said, "I was eating in a herbal medicine shop. I didn't know." Mr. Fu said, "I put the head box in the cupboard. Why did it disappear?" He couldn't find peace in the ground, so he was anxious. Mr. Fu put incense and made a bet. That family member is asking for help, but Mr. Fu has only pushed back and hasn't found out yet. The man walked around several times, but when he saw that he had no boss, he just yelled in front of the door and said, "I have been a pawn for a month, and I have gained a lot of profit from you. Why don't you give it to me?" The boss and hook are worth 70 or 80 taels of silver. When Mr. Fu saw Ping'an not coming home all night, he knew that he had stolen out. He couldn't be found anywhere, and the man who wanted to be the boss was making noise at the door again. She told Yunyang that she would pay him 50 taels of silver, but the man still refused and said, "My head is worth 60 taels. And the hook, including the gems and beads, is worth 10 taels. I should pay him 70 taels of silver." Mr. Fu added, if he still refuses after paying him 10 liang, he must talk to Mr. Fu. When the commotion was going on, someone came to report, Ping'an stole his head and raised his wife in Nanwazi. Wu Shunjian took him to prison, and he didn't tell anyone to quickly claim the stolen goods. This Wu Yunyang heard that Wu Dian was doing the inspection. Jane, he's our old buddy. He asked Uncle Wu to come over for discussion, and quickly wrote the receipt, and taught the clerk to collect the stolen goods the next day. With the original thing here, there is no need for two families to have to pay for it. Mr. Fu took the petition to the inspection department, hoping that Wu Dian would see the old days and show his face. He didn't want to be scolded by Wu Dian's old dog slave. He asked Zoli to pull him down to be beaten. He took off his clothes and took off his boot for half a day. Then he put it down and said, Your servant has confessed many adultery affairs between Wu family and Dan here. I have applied to the prefecture and county here, and I want to ask for it. The traitor picked up the Wu family to prove it. You old dog bones, how dare you come to collect the stolen goods? He killed thousands of minions and 10,000 old dogs. Scolded him, and was so bluff that he couldn't even walk home. Legia didn't dare to hide anything, so he told Yunyang like this. Yunyang didn't listen, but when she did, she separated the 8 roof beams and poured down half a bucket of ice and snow. Her hands and feet became numb in panic. Then I saw the person who wanted to beg for his face, making a lot of noise in front of the door, saying, "My boss is missing from your house, and you don't give me the original thing, and you don't compensate me for the money. Instead, you just coax me to go back and forth. Today you coax me. Go collect the stolen goods and wait for the leader tomorrow. Where will the leader get it?" This is unreasonable. The man Fu apologized and comforted him with good words. Take it easy for a few days, and the leader will come. If not the original thing, I will pay you double the amount. The man said, wait until I hear back from the master. After that, he left. Wu Yunyang was more and more worried. Her brows were furrowed. The servant asked Uncle Wu to come and discuss it, and taught him to look for favors. He told Wu Dian to cover up the matter. Uncle Wu said, I'm afraid he won't be favored and will need some bribes to deal with him. Yunyang said, when he was an official, our family took care of him. He also lent us 100 taels of silver, and my father also wrote the document. What was confiscated from him will be avenged today. Uncle Wu said, Sister, I can't say that anymore. I have never been ungrateful and unjust. How can I just be a child? Wu Yunyang said, if it affects my brother, hurry up and find a way out. My son, I'd rather give him dozens of taels of silver. Show him your dignity and pay it back, so you don't have to waste your words. He sent Uncle Wu to eat. It was a coincidence that Yunyang sent her brother to the front door, and she saw sister-in-law Zhu carrying a flower box and leading a little girl over. Yunyang stopped and asked, Old Zhu, where are you going? Why don't you come and go for a walk? Sister-in-law Zhu said, You said well when you arrived. You have been very busy these past 2 days. You have a lot of clues. Our little grandma has called the prison officer several times, but she still has no time to go. Yunyang said, Look at Mom, Sai Feng. He is acting like my little grandma again. Sister-in-law Zhu said, Now instead of being a little grandma, I have become a big grandma. Yunyang said, Why did he defeat grandma? Sister-in-law Zhu said, You old man still doesn't know. He is such a little creature. Since the birth of the brother, the eldest grandmother died, and the guarding master helped him become the principal wife and made him a gift wife. The serious second mistress son is not as good as him. The men bought to breasts and for girls helped them. There are 2 sisters who are favored in the room and are learning to sing. They are both used by the master. If you want to fight, fight. Do you dare to make the decision? I'm afraid he would be angry if he said so. That day, for some unknown reason, Mrs. Zui was beaten and her hair was pulled out. She asked me to take it out in the middle of the night and sold her for 8 taels of silver. I was still sleeping today, so the jailer called me twice, telling me to go to the house quickly, and asked me if I wanted 2 pairs of large Chuechang Yunzi diamonds and a pair of 9 Phoenix diamonds. He gave me 5 taels of silver first. I don't know where the money went, but it hasn't been given to him to live with. When he saw me, he didn't know how to scold me. Yunyang said, You go to the back and wait for me to see how green it is. At the same time, he asked Mrs. Su to sit down in the back. Mrs. Su opened the flower box, took it out and looked at it with Wu Yunyang. I saw that it was well done, covered with gold and green, and covered with gold on the back. Each of the phoenixes holds a pearl tablet in its mouth, which is very ingenious. Sister-in-law Zhu said, Only this one has a capital of 3 taels and 5 cents of silver. The one with a heavy cloud only has 1 tael and 5 cents of silver, and I haven't found his money yet. Just as he was talking, Diane saw he came over and said to Yunyang, The leader is shouting in front again, saying that he can't wait to claim the stolen goods. How long will it take? If he doesn't have the leader tomorrow, he will fight with Uncle Fu, and we'll deal with it later. Uncle Fu was upset. Okay, let's go home, the man yelled and went back. Anzu asked, what's the deal? Yunyang took a long breath and told Anzu, Ping and her slave, steal away a man from Yin Sipo had a gold head and a face, and a pair of gold-plated hooks. He was walking in a square outside the city to support his wife. He was caught by Wu Shunjian and imprisoned. If he came to ask for his head and face, he made a fuss in front of the door. Wu Shunji and the patrol officers also tried to make things difficult for me, not allowing my family to collect the stolen goods. And they also wanted to beat up the generals and clerks to ask for money. Bai Shun couldn't come up with an idea. It's hard to be bullied like this when a man is dead and defeated. As he spoke, tears began to fall from his eyes. Sister-in-law Zhu said, Good grandma, you won't find the way if you leave it alone. Our little grandma, please write a note here, and wait until I tell him to teach the master to send someone to pay the inspection report. Don't say that you have a good reputation. Even 10 heads have been taken away, Yunyang said. Zhou Shu, he is a military officer. How can he be in charge of the inspection department? Anzu said, Grandma, you still don't know no Master Zhou. The imperial court issued his decree, so he had no control over a wide range of matters. Local rivers, money and food for the army and horses were all in his hand and handed over in his handbook. He also had the east and west rivers and the capture of bandits and thieves in his hands. Yunyang listened, then said, Since you are in charge, Lao Zu is tired of you. Please talk to Sister Pang more often. Don't bother the two masters. Just teach him to say a nice word in front of Master Zhou and ask the patrol officer for help. I'll thank you for 5 taels of silver, Sister-in-law Zhu said. Good grandma, Ambassador Jinxing. I saw that you were in such a miserable state just now that I couldn't bear to leave. You asked someone to write a note. And when I get to the house and talk to the little girl, Grandma said, if it works, it's up to you. If it doesn't work, I'll talk to you. Wu Yunyang asked Xiao Yu to serve tea with Mrs. Zhu. Sister-in-law Zhu said, Why don't you eat? You just asked the high official to write a note. You don't know anything about me, Yunyang said. You have been out for half a day, so go and have some snacks. Xiao Yu even let Zhuor go and serve tea and food. Yunyang had tea with him. Sister-in-law Zhu handed the girl to snacks to eat. Yunyang asked the girl how old she was, and sister-in-law Zhu said, She is 12 years old this year. After a while, Diane wrote a note in front of her. Sister-in-law Zhu had tea, put it in her sleeve, said goodbye to the moon, and went out with the flower box, heading straight to the garrison mansion. Chunmai was still asleep on the warm bed and hadn't gotten up. The eldest maid Ju Gui came in and said, Old Zhu is here. Chunmei asked the little maid Shui Hua to open the window inside the room. The screen window is very bright in the sunlight. Sister-in-law Zhu came in and said, Grandma, aren't we up yet? She put down the flower box and kowtowed. Chunmai said, If you don't want to be a family person, why do you kowtow? She said, I feel uncomfortable because I got up late today. She asked, Have you ever taken the Qi Yunzi and Jufeng tea honor you made? Sister-in-law Zhu said, Grandma, these 2 pairs of diamonds are so effortless. I just went to Kuihua's shop to ask for them last night, and I want to deliver them today. I didn't expect Grandma to use the jail again. Take it out. Check with Chunmai. Chunmai also thought that Qi Yunzi was not very freshly made, so she still put it in the paper box and handed it to Yu Gui to keep it. Watch tea and eat with Mrs. Zhu. And Zhu called the maiden, kowtow to Grandma. Chunmai asked, Where is it from? And Zhu said, Second grandma told me several times that he Hua only cooks, and taught me how to cook for him. Looking for a child to learn how to do needlework, I brought this child here for him. She is a girl from the village. She is only 12 years old this year. She is a good talent, Chunmai said. You are also interested. It would be easier for him to find a kid from the city. What does this kid from the countryside know? Because he asked, How much silver does this girl want? Sister-in-law Zhu said, Or not much, only 4 taels of silver, and I want to surrender to the military envoy. Chunmai called Haideng. You take it to Nying's room and exchange it tomorrow. Give him the silver. He also called Yu Gui. There is Jinhua wine in the big pot. Sift it and boil it with Mrs. Feed him. Sister-in-law Zhu said. Sister Gui, don't sift it up. While I was talking to Grandma, something I just ate came here. JinPingMei said. Whose house are you telling me? What do you want to eat? Sister-in-law Zhu said. Just now, the aunt left me something to eat, like this. She looked at me so hard that she didn't cry. She said that Ping'er, the boy, stole the gold from the people in the Yinzi shop. There is also a gold-plated hook on the head and face. He keeps his wife outside and beats her in the patrol slip department. People here are going to be in trouble again. Wu Shenjian used to be our clerk there, and his father is here to take care of him. I am an official. Today, if I turn against you, I will be ungrateful. I will beat the boys and grab people, but I won't allow them to collect the stolen goods. I will beat and scold Mr. Fu after asking for money. The man who bluffed was not good, so he hid and went home. Central, I'm here to pay homage to you, old man. It's pitiful that he has no relatives. I'll teach you to speak to the master for him, to show his respect, and to hand it over to others. I'll come to thank you, old man. JinPingMei asked. Do you have a message? It doesn't matter. Your father is out on patrol. I'm afraid you won't be able to come home tonight and wait for me to tell your father. Sister-in-law Zhu said. He said the post is here. She took it out from her sleeve. JinPingMei looked at it and put it on the windowsill. After a while, 4 kinds of rice and vegetables were placed on the tray. And Yu Gui took a large silver bell, filled it with a full cup, and handed it to Mrs. Zhu on the edge of the stream. Sister-in-law Zhu said, My grandma, how did I get into this big business? JinPingMei smiled and said, It's worse than your old man's big business. You can suffer from that one, but you can't survive from this one. Anyway, fight with me if you don't want to eat it. Yu Gui, you and I can hold your nose and feed it to him. Sister-in-law Zhu said, You can get some snacks and have a good relationship with me. JinPingMei said, Mom, just take care of it. You're lying. You just said you ate it, but this time you said you didn't know anything about it. Sister-in-law Zhu said, after eating his tea snacks, Do we still have this? Yu Gui said, Mother Zhu, just eat this. I'll get some snacks for you to eat the big bell wine. My grandma blamed me for being useless and wanted to beat me. Mrs. Zhu had no choice but to drink a bell, and she felt her heart skip a beat. The JinPingMei opened his mouth and asked Haiding to fill it up for an hour and teach him how to eat it. Sister-in-law Zhu pushed her aside and said, My mother, I can't eat at all. Haiding said, You will be beaten by Sister Yu Gui for a while, but if you don't beat me for a while, Grandma will beat me. Then Sister-in-law Zhu was so panicked that she knelt down on the ground. JinPingMei said, Forget it. You take the cake and eat it with him, and teach him how to drink wine. Yu Gui said, Mother Zhu, who loves you as much as I do, leaving the good rose pie for you to eat. He took a large plate of crispy rose cakes. Zhu's sister-in-law only ate one, and she kept the other JinPingMei in her sleeves. I'll eat it with your old bastard when we get home. The pickled goose is wrapped in straw paper and stuffed into the sleeves. Haiding was angry in vain and drank another half an hour of wine. When I saw him vomiting, I took him away and stopped him from eating. JinPingMei paid come tomorrow to ask for words. I will exchange the girl's money with you. Before leaving, JinPingMei paid again. Mom, don't pretend to be deaf and dumb. That Qianzi didn't do well. I will bring to more tomorrow. Let me see if it's good. Sister-in-law Zhu said, I know Grandma asked an eldest sister to send me off, but the dog bit me on the leg. JinPingMei smiled and said, My dogs have eyes, and they only bit the bone and stopped at the base. Send orchids out of the corner door. Stop talking nonsense. Joe stayed on guard until sunset. He came home from the patrol and entered the back hall. The maids on the left and right received the crowns and uniforms. When I entered the room and saw JinPingMei and Xiaoyanai, I felt happy. After sitting down, Yu Gui and Haiding took some tea and told them about their patrol. After a while, the table was set for dinner. After dinner, hold a candle in the palm of your hand and arrange a cup of wine, because he asked, Is there anything going on ahead? JinPingMei took the sticker that Mrs. Zhu had brought and showed it to the guard. She said that Wu Yunyang's side was like this. Ping'er, the young man, stole his head and was taken by Wu Shunjian. He was imprisoned and was not allowed to receive the stolen goods. He only tortured the servants, falsely accused Wu of adultery, demanded silver, and reported to the county. The guard looked at it and said, "This is a matter in my Yemen. How can I report it to the county? That fellow Wu Shunjian is so disgusting. I will show my cards tomorrow and even he will be brought up to punish me." He added, "I heard it. Wu Shunjian is his servant, and he took him to be an official just because he went to Tokyo to pay tribute to Kai Tai. So how can he frame his family with false accusations?" JinPingMei said, "That's exactly what he said. You can take care of him tomorrow." After a night scene, I mentioned it. The next day, Zhuangjiu Wu Yu's family made up a piece of paper, and the approval document for the large flower panel came out of the hall, enclosed in an envelope. Previous batch. There was a theft in the Shandong Shouyu mansion. The stolen goods were confiscated by Yangshen Jian Siguan and his company. I sent Yahoo Zhangsheng and Lian on the right. Grant this. The two men then took out the official document and went to Wu Yu's mother's house first. Yunyang took care of the food and wine, and gave each person 1 tael of silver for shoes and feet. Mr. Fu fell asleep at home, and Uncle Wu followed him to the inspection department. Wu Shunjian saw that Ping'an was in prison for 2 days, but no one from Ximen King's family came to take care of it. He taught the officials to prepare documents and submit them to the county. He saw 2 officials from the Shouyu mansion arriving and presented him with the approval documents. Seeing the vermilion pen mark on the envelope, Yangshen Jian Siguan and others were released. I opened it and saw Wu's son-in-law inside, and I was frightened instead. He paid Lian and Zhangsheng details of silver as compensation. Then he went up as a clerk, arrive in front of the garrison and wait for half a day. The waiting guard was raised to the hall. The military prisons on both sides were lined up, and then led inside. Wu Shunjian handed over the document, and the guard read it over and said, "This is a matter in my Yemen. Why don't you come here to explain it? It's obviously a bad idea to just postpone the imprisonment." Wu Shunjian reported, "The junior official is just waiting to write a document to submit to the master's case. Unexpectedly, the master Jun has approved it." The guard yelled, "You are a disgusting dog official. What is your official position? This kind of deception is against the boss. I was ordered by the imperial court to protect the place, patrol against thieves, supervise military affairs, and manage rivers. My responsibilities have been clearly stated. Why did you take this without explanation? Use the cane to torture the prisoner, and falsely accuse the innocent. It is obvious that you are guilty of evil." After hearing this, Wu Shunjian took off his hat and kowtowed in front of the steps. The guard said, "I should have punished you, a dog official. And I will spare you this. If you commit another crime next time, I will definitely investigate." While raising Ping'an to the hall, he said, "You slave, you have stolen property. You are also slandering the Lord. People are like you, and they don't dare to be slaves anymore." He shouted to the left and right. "Hit me with 30 sticks and let him go. Seal the stolen goods and teach my family to come and collect them," he called out. Second Uncle Wu came and handed over the collar. The guard here still needs Zhangsheng to take his post and send it to Ximen King's house. Wu Yunyang treated Zhangsheng to wine and food, and also gave him a tael of silver. When he came to the house, he replied to Shu Wei and JinPingMei. Wu Shunjian cheated on Ping'an and lost several taels of silver. Yunyang returned the favor and hooked to that person. It was his original thing, and it went away without a word. When Mr. Fu got home, he fell asleep due to typhoid fever. He only lasted 7 days and could not be cured. He died sadly. Seeing this kind of aura, Yunyang decided that the Yinzi shop only took the capital to redeem it, and then gave it away as money. Jishi taught Wu's second uncle and Dan, who worked in the family's first medicine shop day by day, and had a lot of money at home. This matter is out of the question. One day, Wu Yunyang called Sister Zhu to come and gave her 3 taels of silver. Sister-in-law Zhu said, "Don't stop. It's said that Grandma in the mansion blames me." Yunyang said, "God doesn't make us empty. You are so tired. I just don't mention it when I see him." So she bought 4 plates of rice and slaughtered her. After buying a mouthful of fresh bick, a jar of southern wine, and a piece of silk ruler, Sister-in-law Zhu came to guard the house and thanked JinPingMei. Diane was wearing green silk pleats and holding a gift sticker. Sister Zhu led her to the back hall. JinPingMei came out, wearing a crown with golden beams, an embroidered jacket, and a brocade skirt. She was served by her maids and adoptive mothers. Diane went to the ground and kowtowed. JinPingMei paid, put the table for tea and food with Diane. She said, "It's nothing. Your grandma will excuse me. Why bother to send so many gifts? Your Lord Zhou will definitely not accept it." Diane said, "My grandma said that Master Zhou and Grandma Zhou had to worry a lot about Ping'er the day before yesterday. It's nothing. It's just a little courtesy and a reward with Master and Grandma." JinPingMei said, "How can you feel better?" Sister-in-law Zhu said, "If you don't accept this, then it will be my fault if you offend the other party." JinPingMei invited the guards to come in to argue, stopped accepting the pig's wine and food, and took Shatu back to the future. I gave Diane a handkerchief, 3 coins of silver, and 2 coins to the person who carried the box. JinPingMei asked, "When did you put your head up and put on the net towel? When did you come to have sex with Xiao Yu?" Diane said, "You will come in August." JinPingmei said, "I will support your grandma when you get home." "Thank you very much. It's a great gift. I'm going to invite your grandma to sit down with you. Your Uncle Joe will go out on patrol sooner or later. In the first month of the Chinese New Year, it's my brother's birthday, so I go back and forth to the house." Diane said, "If you, the old man, go, the younger one will come home. Tell my grandma to pick her up on that day." After saying that, he sent Diane out. Sister-in-law Zhu then said to Dan, "Sir, please go first. Grandma still wants to talk to me." Danner went home with a box and a load. When she saw Yun Yang, she said, "This is what it is, JinPingMei. My sister asked me to go to the back and take care of the tea and food. I asked my brother how he was doing and how he was doing at home. He gave me a handkerchief, 3 coins of silver, and the person who carried the box 2 coins of silver. Many thanks to Grandma, and many gifts, but they are not accepted." Sister-in-law Zhu and I talked about it again and again. And then I accepted the food, pig wine, and returned to Shatu. If Grandma hadn't been invited to sit there, Mr. Zhou would go on tour in a day or 2. He only wanted to come to Brother Xiao's birthday in the first month of the new year. "Let's take a walk around the house." Then she told him, he lives in the main house with 5 rooms. He wears a brocade skirt, an embroidered coat, and a golden beam crown. He is getting fatter and fatter. He has many girls and breasts to serve him. Yunang asked. "He actually said he would come to our house next year." Diana said, "Tell me the truth." Yunang said, "On that day, we will send someone here to pick him up." Because he asked, "Why doesn't Sister Zhu come?" Dan said, "When I went out, he was still sitting and talking, teaching me to come first." Since then, the 2 families have been in constant contact. It's exactly the same. The world's situation depends on whether it's good or bad, and people's popularity competes with each other. There is a poem to prove it. Gains and losses, prosperity and loss, destiny are all caused by the years, months, days and times. If you have ambitions in your heart, you should reach them. If you don't have money, don't talk about your talents.
Alright, this part of the story ends here.
Want to know what happened next? Let's listen to the breakdown next time.